Hello and welcome along to Mondo Chelloveck Movies. My name is John, and this video is going to be my ranking of Quentin Tarantino's movies. Now, the good thing about Quentin Tarantino is he's only got 10 movies to his name, so that's brilliant. It's quite an easy one to watch, although some of them are quite long. Now, this is coming off the back of my Stanley Kubrick one, which I'm up to Full Metal Jacket, so I've got two videos, two movies, two films left to watch, and then I will do a re-ranking of the Stanley Kubrick ones. Now, funny enough, when I watched the Stanley Kubrick ones again, they have really changed, my views have changed on them, and the place in the rankings has altered quite drastically to it. You'd be quite surprised at where some of these movies are. Anyway, so that should be coming out quite soon. So what I'm going to do with what I did with Stanley Kubrick, I've done with David Lynch. He'll be next for me to revisit all of his movies. And I thought, who next can I do with a short filmography, and who better than Quentin Tarantino? I've got all his movies here, and what I've done is, as well as I've done with the other two directors, I've just thought, right, this is where I have them in my head at the moment. Some of these movies I've watched quite a few times, even recently, and some of these movies haven't watched for ages, probably even once since they came out. So this re-ranking will probably change drastically, I would imagine. Coming in at, well, obviously, it's going to be a top 10 because there's only 10 movies. So coming in at number 10 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now, I've only watched this movie once, and when I watched it, I had a really different mindset when I went into it. I thought it was going to be a really good kind of gritty, really a drama, and more like an action film. It is to a certain extent, but what I found with it, I treated more, looking back on it, I'll treat it more like a comedy because it is more like a comedy. I think I went in there thinking this is going to be like a real like blood fest, although it has got some quite gory scenes in it. But the movie is not really what I expected it to be. But on a rewatch, I know what I'm going into, so this might change drastically. And it's funny when I look at some of these movies, I think they used to be a lot higher up on the list, but me on reflection, this is how I'm tackling them. I'm saying this is what I've got. So anyway, so at number 10, that's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. At number 9 is Django Unchained. It's a great movie. All of these movies are great. And this is the one that I really enjoyed when I watched it. I think I've only watched it once. And it's a one that I need to do a rewatch with. But in my mind, when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking this is quite a one that I can't remember that too much about it. And is that because it's not one of my favorites? I don't know. And I do love the fact that he's went into the westerns as well. I would like Quentin Tarantino to keep on making a few. I know he's going to say his next film's his last one, but I think he should really get back to making a few more films, a bit more like his early work. But anyway, so yeah, so at number 9, that's Django Unchained. At number 8 is Inglorious Bastards. It's a great movie. This when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking yes, it's quite low on the list, but there's movies I've got more time for. And when I say that, I don't think that this is a bad movie at all. The first half of this movie is so intense. It's a great set piece. And also, there's a scene around a coffee table with people who are pretending to be Nazi officers and they're not. And that's a great scene. Them two scenes are some of my favorite scenes in a Quentin Tarantino movie. The movie itself is a great movie. It's a bit like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It takes like events, factual events, and they alter them, which is a bit odd actually. This was the one where I thought, what on earth is this happening? Why is this happening in this movie? And the same happened in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Maybe that's something that he just likes to put in, like alter history. Bit of a strange one, but it's quite amusing at the same time. But this has got hello, Mondo Chelloveck. Hi. Well, as long as it looks all right. I mean, there's no way you're going to get us up with a dodgy slip, are you? Yeah, it's definitely 6. Good. Yes, that's the one. Okay. I'm sorry, Deborah. You, well, you can take it back, can't you, if you want? Or you sell it, will you? All right. Terrible. Right. Okay, then. Thank you. Right. Bye. Bye. So it was a debt. Said, do you want to, shall I get you something in the metal centre? I'm going with a friend of mine. And I went, yes, please. As if I was going to say no. So anyway, getting back to Inglorious Bastards. This is it's got some great performances in here. I think there's a lot of really solid performances in this movie. Yes, it's a bit odd for the fact that it kind of changes history a bit, but I don't mind that. In a way, you can let all these movies, you can get these films, you can give them a free pass, and you can just say, well, it's artistic license, can't you? But a great film. I know I haven't got the 4K. The 4K's got a bad review. I know that some people say it looks all right, and I have hovered over it a few times, but I don't know. I don't really think it needs an upgrade for me personally. So yeah, at number eight, that's Inglorious Bastards. At number seven is The Hateful Eight. Now this movie looks spectacular, even on Blu-ray, and it's filmed in 70 millimeters, pure 70 millimeters. And I'll tell you what, if they get a 4K of this, the 4K of this should look like nothing else. He didn't sort of make a movie that was like kind of a pretend 70 millimeters. He actually got the 70 millimeter format, which apparently is a hard thing to source now. And he actually fashioned this movie with a view to having a huge scope with it. So you will know that the black bars in here are quite pronounced, but that's you get more information on the movie. It looks amazing. Yeah, it's a long film. I've watched it once, and actually I watched it in two parts because it was that long. I thought that the acting was great. I thought the storyline was great. I thought it was a bit of like a kind of bit like Cluedo in a fashion. And I just thought it was a great movie. And I do really, I want to watch this again, but I want to watch this in 4K. It's not out yet. Chances are, as soon as I watch this one, the 4K will be announced if it hasn't been already. And so that's why I've been wanting to check this out for quite a long time, especially on my OLED TV. But I've held off because I thought is the fork here on the corner, but it hasn't been yet thus far. But this might be one of the ones that goes right up if I see a 4K of it because it'd be such a spectacular viewing experience. But anyway, at number seven, that's The Hateful Eight. Coming in at number six is Jackie Brown. Now, when this movie first came out, I didn't like it at all because it was a bit of a change from his usual type of movies. And I thought, no, it doesn't have it. It doesn't hold much for me. I've went back to this since and thought, will it be one of the ones that I'll kind of watch once more and I think I'm done with it. But on a second and third watch, I think this movie is absolutely brilliant. The performances from Pam Grier, especially, and the cast as well, and also the amazing Robert Forster, who's recently just passed away, sadly. Great actor he is, and all his movies I've seen him in are just absolutely brilliant. He's got such a presence. He's one of those actors that you just know you're gonna have a great time with his what when you watch it. But when I first, like I say, when I first watched it, I thought, oh, hang on, this is not what I would consider that would be the next great masterpiece from Quentin Tarantino. As he slipped a bit, but on reflection, I did think movie was much better than I originally thought. I think I was hoping for another one like the first two, and it wasn't. But that's not taking anything away from it. Actually, it is a really good, solid movie. All these movies are solid for me. But yes, so at number six, that's Jackie Brown. At number five is Kill Bill 2. Now, probably guessed that at number four is Kill Bill. Now, these I kind of consider these just like the same movie. I know that when I watch Kill Bill, I've always got to watch Kill Bill 2. I can't watch Kill Bill 2 first. I've got to watch Kill Bill first. Like Kill Bill 1 first, obviously. And these movies are such a great homage to the movies that it pays homage to. Especially Lady Snowblood. If you've seen Lady Snowblood, you've basically seen Kill Bill. It's kind of like a bit of a new remake of that movie in a slight fashion. But the attention to detail, Hattori Hanzo, who was played by Sonny Chiba, who's recently just passed away as well. God, and to have him in a movie, he really knows what he's doing. He's a movie fan, obviously Quentin Tarantino, and you can tell by this movies. These, well, I always say that this Kill Bill is the questions and Kill Bill 2 is the answers, and I can kind of see that because you can kind of see what's going on, but it leaves a lot to make you think, and it kind of answers all of the things that you're scratching your head for in Kill Bill 1. And I just think that just should it be talking about making a supercut of this, just putting it out as a huge film. I don't know if I want to sit through that, but it's a just a great set of movies. But also they always had to be together for me. I would never put Kill Bill away from Kill Bill 2. But anyway, on a rewatch, you never know, that might happen. Okay, so that number five and at number four, that's Kill Bill 2 and Kill Bill. At number three is Death Proof. Now, a lot of people that I've talked to in life, they absolutely hate this movie. They think that it's just a mess. And I just don't see what they say. I can't see that myself. This movie is played out like a grindhouse movie. And that means it's got this low budget look. It's got the damaged print. It's got the things, the frames dropping out of it. It's got the wrong titles when it starts off. It really is a big sort of like love letter to grindhouse movies where these things happened all the time. The prints were damaged. It was just like watching some, but it was great to see those really horrible old prints. And he's deliberately done this for this movie, especially for the first half. I think the first half is a bit like that. Then it goes into black and white, and then it goes into like pristine quality as well. Now I think that this movie is just brilliant. And I just like the fact that he's done that. And he's went and done a huge car chase, one of the best car chases you'll ever see. Performances, I think, is great. Yes, it's a bit talky, but I don't mind that. And Kurt Russell in this, the stuntman Mike, is just sensational. His whole look at the camera when he winks his eye and looks at the camera and he takes that lasso off on that ride from hell. I just think it's absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it does get a lot of hate. I'd love to see a 4K of this. And you might say, well, a 4K of something that looks like trash. Well, it's meant to look like that. And the end of it looks like pristine. It's got a great ending as well. A really grindhouse ending. These endings, which I won't tell you about, but the way it's fashioned, that all used to end like that back in the day. Bruce Lee, all that type of thing, used to have these type of endings. Wow. So yeah, so I've got a lot of time for this one. But on reflection, when I'm looking at these movies, like say maybe Hateful Eight, it may jump above this. I don't know. That's the best thing about doing these rankings. I urge anybody who wants to do this, if you've got a favorite director, even Quentin Tarantino, and you say, right, at this point, this is how I rank them. I'm going to watch the whole lot again with fresh eyes, maybe for the second time and maybe for the first time in some movies. And then I'm going to re-rank them. And I think, especially with the Stanley Kubrick ones, I've had such a good time with the movies, much better than I thought I was going to have. And I enjoyed them all much more than I did the first time around, or however many times around that was. Can't wait to show you where my ranking is of the Stanley Kubrick stuff. But like I say, that'll probably come out very soon. In fact, I'm going to watch Full Metal Jacket today. So yeah, so at number three, that's Death Proof. At number two is Pulp Fiction. Now, this, for me, if someone said to me, what do you think? I know this sounds funny because I have to put this in number two. What do you think Quentin Tarantino's best realized movie is? And I'd say every time Pulp Fiction. I think this is the most accessible movie. Yes, it is hyper violent, but it's the most, I don't know, there's something about this movie that's so clever. And I think it's the cleverest of his movies. It's got the most twists and turns and strange editing, which works a treat. I know I put this in number two, but the reason I've got for number one, you'll hear when I talk about it. But will that change? But this movie is a masterpiece, I think. And when it's funny because when the first movie came out, the second movie came out, then Jackie Brown came out, you thought, oh, hang on, this is definite dip in quality. But I think Jackie Brown was a move away from this type of movie. But yeah, I can't say enough about this movie. It's just perfection, really. So number two, that's Pulp Fiction. So at number one, obviously, is Reservoir Dogs. Yeah. So why is this number one? And I've gushed about Pulp Fiction. I've put this at number two and this is number one. Well, this is where it all started for me. I remember hearing about this movie and they were saying there's a movie coming out that's hyper violent. You'll not be able to see it because it's going to get cut over here or not even released in the UK. Of course, that was me thinking I've got to see this movie. It took me a long time, well, I'm saying a long time, probably about a year or two to see this movie. Saw it in a really dodgy bootleg, but I had to view it and I was just blown away by it. I was blown away by this fella's Quentin's vision of what this movie was about. As a fact, he used this music in the most spectacular fashion. This was the first time when I thought, hang on a minute, these songs I've never usually haven't heard any of them before. They fitted in so perfectly with it, of course, about the soundtrack where they played it to death. And it was a move away. It was just like a new breath of fresh air that came across with this young guy who it's just putting out this movie, and you thought film, and you thought, wow, this is something different. I'm seeing it's always great to see somebody doing something different. Now, the best thing about this one is it introduced the fact of Quentin Tarantino.
Where's me ladders?
Quentin Tarantino likes to have a lot of talking and a lot of dialogue in his movies, and it's quite interesting the interaction between these lot. Yes, it's got some twists and turns, and it's got some great acting. The performances in here are just all great. I can't. Well, obviously, you don't see some as many like Mr. Blue. Don't see him that much. But it's the whole. You just knew that this bloke had something different to offer. I mean, the title as well, Reservoir Dogs. What a classic title that is. It's just, it's. I think, yes, it might not be as spectacular as Pulp Fiction, might not be as clever as Pulp Fiction, but in its own way, this was Quentin Tarantino stepping out the limelight and saying, "This is what I can do." And I had a lot of time for the fact of somebody coming up with something that was like not really done before, which is quite odd when you see something and you think, hang on a minute, I know this, they talk about this movie being a bit of a remake of another Asian film, but I've never seen that one actually. I think it's City on Fire, I think it's called. And it's meant to be a carbon copy of that, but I'm not bothered by that because he's put his own spin on this. And when Quentin Tarantino puts his own vision on stuff, and he can do it really well with this type of movie, maybe sometimes when he's got the ones that are like the war films and that he kind of really put a stamp on it with the music as well. Might be as like cool as this music. So anyway, so that's my rankings. Number one with a bullet at this point is Reservoir Dogs. Now I have got other versions of these movies which I'll show, like I will with all the movies with Stanley Kubrick. And when I watched them all, obviously I've watched A Clockwork Orange. And which version did I watch of Clockwork Orange? As I've got that many, you'll see on that video. Okay, and I picked a version that I hadn't seen before as well. Right, so thanks for watching, and I really enjoyed doing this, and I hopefully, well, I've got to do the whole David Lynch before I can do the whole Quentin Tarantino, or do I do Quentin Tarantino first? I'm not too sure, because they've both got about the same amount of movies. And yeah, if anybody else wants to do one of these ones and set their own, thing up, I'm going to take this direct, I'm going to go through all the ones, but I urge you, if you can, if you've got the time, that is, to go and give your ranking of them, how they sit in your head at this point of view before you even watch them all again. Watch them totally again and see if they all change. Because I'm really surprised at how the difference I've had with the Stanley Kubrick movies. Okay, so thanks for watching. You take care, and I will see you on the next video. Cheers.